Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from the Free Press. This is dated June 25th, and I did an article from them the other day, and I read this is the actual date of the article, so I apologize for that. But this one is from June 25th. It is called The Pogrom on Pico Boulevard, and I don't know if a lot of you saw, but from the time I'm recording this was probably, let's see, it says on Sunday, so it was about a week ago, that in LA there were a bunch of far leftists that decided to attack a synagogue in Los Angeles, and this dude here got his ass kicked, and he was one of the folks on the Jewish side. Apparently what I've read and what I've seen about it was that the city knew this was coming. These people said they were going to do this and then did nothing to help these people out. So the guy who's the author of this article is Noah Pollock. I do follow him. I believe I follow him on Twitter, and he was there, and he decided to write an article about it. So it says, I went to synagogue with my kids to learn about, a bit about real estate in Israel. Instead, we witnessed a street battle. Yeah, that's what it was about. That somebody put online that this synagogue was selling Palestinian land or something in Israel, like to Israeli people. I'm sure his article's going to go into it. And these folks decided that they were going to go do it, even though the whole thing turned out to be a lie. Or it was something, it was a lie in a sense that the land was in like Israel. It was not anywhere in what is considered Palestinian territory. So these people did what they did based on a lie, which, welcome to the left. That's just kind of what they do, but let's dive into it. It says, on Sunday, a synagogue in the largest Jewish neighborhood in Los Angeles hosted a small, privately advertised event for those interested in purchasing homes or second homes in Israel. The Great Israeli Real Estate event at Adass Torah Synagogue wasn't political and had nothing to do with the Gaza war. But within moments of its noon start time, it became the backdrop to the worst anti-Semitic violence in Los Angeles since an attack on Jewish diners at a restaurant in 2021. Over the course of several hours, with dozens of LAPD officers decked out in riot gear, largely staying out of the fray, around 100 pro-Hamas activists attacked, bear-sprayed, harassed, and brawled up Jews up and down Pico Boulevard. The police occasionally stepped in, but their main activity Sunday afternoon seemed to ensure that the activists were able to successfully shut down the front entrance to the synagogue, ruin the event, and harass Jews more or less with impunity. Dozens of video clips from Sunday afternoon have been posted online. A good roundup is at this link right here. There's a striking thing about the footage is that despite the significant police presence, there is scant footage of the police forcefully intervening in the numerous fistfights, brawls, and beatings. Yeah, I didn't see any footage of the police getting involved. It says, I had come to the synagogue with my kids not to get caught up in a street battle, but to learn about real estate in Israel. As violence across America has grown without much pushback, especially in cities where Jews live, many Jews are thinking about alternative plans or at least exploring their options. And that's probably a pretty good idea at this point. I don't know where to go, though. I mean, you can go to Israel, but, there's obviously risks there too, but I don't know where else you'd go. Continuing on, it says, it turns out that Hamas sympathizers have been keeping close tabs on events hosted by synagogues in America. They knew about the event in advance and were putting out calls on social media groups like Code Pink and the Palestinian Youth Movement to mobilize their keffiyeh-clad thugs to show up at Adass Torah at 12 p.m. sharp, ready for action. The same groups that promoted Sunday's violence, it turns out, had also shown up at similar real estate events earlier this year in Toronto, Montreal, and Teaneck, New Jersey. I didn't know about any of those. That's kind of frightening. So they're watching over you. The social media posts about the event were designed to generate maximum mob outrage. Our land is not for sale. This Sunday, a real estate event will be marketing homes in Anglo neighborhoods in effort to further occupy Palestine, reads one post. There's nothing right with this actual language here. It wasn't your land, okay? And so what if their Anglo neighborhoods could give an absolute crap what the people look like and further occupy Palestine? Well, there's no such thing as Palestine, so try again. Because one doesn't need to be a scholar of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict to note there is no distinction made here between Israel proper and the disputed territories. Right. That's probably more accurate than what I was saying. As to them, all of Israel is Palestine. Right. And again, that's more accurate than what I was saying. All of Israel should be destroyed, and every home inhabited by a Jew on any part of this land is a crime. These public social media posts are quite open about the goal of violence. The Nakba is ongoing and must be confronted. From the belly of the beast, no justice, no peace. Yes, you're definitely not the bad guys in this situation. Totally not. But I knew none of this when I loaded my kids into my car and headed over to the belly of the beast, an American synagogue. My wife, who was out running errands, would meet us there. It was clear from a distance that something was happening. Pico Boulevard, a major 4-lane thoroughfare, had been shut down by police, and an LAPD helicopter was circling noisily overhead. Dozens of cops in riot gear stood tightly together around the front of the synagogue with nightsticks drawn. Yeah, that's frightening. If you're just planning to go to synagogue, you don't know what's going on, and then you see all this, you're like, what the hell? But as I got closer, the truly meaningful spectacle came into view. Behind the phalanx of LAPD, on the sidewalk in front of the synagogue, were the Hamas supporters. When I walked up to the police with my boys and asked if I could enter the synagogue, they told me not to come any closer and said that I should leave. I asked calmly but incredulously, shouldn't you be making sure this place stays open? Their reply was, you should leave. Police were unwilling to confront, arrest, and prosecute bad actors. Jews were being policed in the name of safety. In Los Angeles and other big cities, and on many elite campuses, the message from authorities is essentially, things would be so much easier if you stayed off campus, avoided the library, didn't go to your synagogue, and overall just stayed away from the mobs that regularly gather to confront you. This is very, Europe in World War II-ish, specifically, Germany, that particular area. It's important to note that this approach applies only to certain kinds of people. If 100 masked Christian Republicans, say, had gathered in front of a Los Angeles mosque on Sunday and assaulted Muslims, we would now be several days into a national news cycle about Islamophobia and injustice in America. There would be joint LAPD FBI task forces kicking down doors, and press conferences, vigils, presidential speeches, and multi-part investigative reports from numerous leading publications. How hard would it have been on Sunday, given the quantity of police on hand, to move the Hamas group a safe distance away from the entrance to the synagogue and ensure freedom of entry and exit? And it's not just that this was entirely possible, it's that this would have been the right thing to do, consistent with basic American values. We don't do heckler's vetoes here, or mob rule, and we don't let masked thugs push around good citizens in broad daylight. Or at least, that's what I thought. I was only in talking to people on the outskirts of the protest that I learned that the event was still on. You just had to find the alleyway behind the synagogue and knock on the right door, and there'd be an armed security guard who would let you in. So we did end up attending, but through the back door. In the midst of all this, my wife arrived and also first tried to go in the front door. She was also stopped by the police and told, you're not going in, you have to leave this area. And that would be a little frightening. I probably would have sent her a text saying, don't come here. I guided her via text messages toward the alleyway entrance. It was only as we left the event that the street fighting really picked up in front of the synagogue and, later, in front of Jewish restaurants and establishments along Pico Boulevard. A friend of ours, who owns a small kosher restaurant a block from Adas Torah, texted us a picture that afternoon of her and her staff standing in front of their restaurant holding baseball bats and knives, ready to protect their businesses. I immediately thought of the rooftop Koreans during the LA riots. Good comparison. Why did it have to escalate like this? Because, as they have realized on elite college campuses and in blue cities across the country, anti-Israel activists understand that they enjoy something like immunity. They can't murder or severely beat people, but pretty much all other criminality, vandalism, graffiti, trespassing, and harassment will go unpunished. It's one thing to understand that from watching the news. It's quite another to witness it. To have to rush your kids away from the synagogue because Hamas supporters are getting violent outside and the police are letting it happen. Yeah, and I forgot about the kids being there. I don't know why I forgot about that, but yeah, that's got to be frightening as hell for them too. As the groups organizing and carrying out these regular campaigns of violence across the country are well known. They fundraise for and promote their criminal enterprise openly. They boast on social media about carrying out violence. Their assaults are documented on video from a dozen angles. They routinely break numerous state and federal civil rights and hate crime laws. They can be prosecuted under half a dozen different statutes, but it never seems to happen. So it is very difficult to reach any other conclusion that this is all quite intentional. Yeah, I would go ahead and say that, well, given that it's LA, and who's the guy that's in the district attorney? It's that Gascon guy who just doesn't prosecute anybody on the left at all for doing things, or just really doesn't prosecute anybody. Yeah, no wonder. Nothing's going to happen. I mean, I get that. If you think that's unfair, just look at the statement released yesterday by Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass. She pledged to take 3 actions in response to the Pico pogrom: convene meetings, increase coordination between the LAPD and Jewish institutions, and ask for more state money for security. Notice anything missing? The mayor of Los Angeles isn't even pretending that she will ask for law enforcement to protect criminals who target Jews. More than one friend and neighbor have contacted me over the last 48 hours asking if it's time to leave Los Angeles. One texted me, "Can you see some assholes coming into our neighborhood and shooting us up, since the cops are clearly not doing anything?" And yeah, I would say that's probably more and more likely every single day. And the article continues, says, "I wish I could call her crazy, but her fear is legitimate. The cops are not doing anything. nor is the mayor, nor is the governor, nor is the president. Yeah, and Joe Biden barely said anything about it. I don't even know if he said anything about it, to be honest. He might have, but it was just kind of like a, yeah, that's bad, don't do it, slap on the wrist sort of thing. Until political leaders ban masking during demonstrations, until our DA prosecutes criminals, until our mayor and governor instruct the police to protect Jewish institutions in the same way they protect other institutions, until the same rules apply to everyone, regardless of their identity, it will simply and grimly be true that California's political leadership is upholding a two-tiered system of justice toward the second largest Jewish community in America. And in that case, Los Angeles may not host such a large Jewish community for much longer. Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting to get someone's point of view that was actually at something like this, just to see what really happened, or what they had to go through, I should say. Because it doesn't seem, he didn't bring up, like, you know, what led to the picture at the very beginning as I'm scrolling up here to this. So he probably wasn't around there at all. But, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of shocked at just this stuff, and that, like, nobody's going to take responsibility for it. Like, I guess if you're Jewish, like myself, it's just, you know, free reign, just go ahead and do whatever you want. It's that Family Guy quote of, like, oh yeah, no one's gonna what is it with about Quagmire's father, now mother. It said, like, oh, do what you want all the time, or something like that. That's basically what's happening here. So yeah, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.